Hello again, friends. Welcome back to Max's Cards and Dice Dugout. Robert Max here. Hope everyone's doing well. This is episode number 24, and we are returning to Downey Games Fast Action Racing and the 1991 Stock Car Project. This is race number 2, which took place at Richmond. It was known as the Pontiac Excitement 400. The winner that day, which was February 24th, 1991, was Dale Earnhardt. Excuse me, but before we get to the setting of the field, let's take a look at the standings after race 1, the Daytona 500. Kyle Petty, who won the race, of course, is in first place. Rounding out the top 5, second is Ernie Irvan, third is Harry Gant, fourth is Jeff Bodine, and fifth is Rick Mast. So we'll see how the field shakes out after today's race. So the first thing we're going to do is set the race grid. I do want to mention one thing about the Richmond track. The track modifiers contact gets a +1 and no change to mechanical. That means there is a slightly less chance of contact occurring at this track compared to some other tracks on the circuit. Okay, so I'm going to give the driver cards a shuffle and a cut. And we'll set the race grid. Now remember, this race grid is not a representation of the running order. It is an abstraction showing various grooves on the track. This middle section is the top. This is the middle, and the outside section is the bottom groove. And it really only comes into play, well, it only comes into play at the end of the race when determining running order. Okay, so we're going to set the field. We have Bill Elliott, Jeff Bodine, Joe Rootman, Davey Allison, Michael Waltrip, Dave Marcus, Ted Musgrave, Mickey Gibbs, Lake Speed, Rick Mast, Dale Earnhardt, Sterling Marlin, Jimmy Means, Morgan Shepherd, Terry Labonte, Larry Pearson, Darrell Waltrip, Rick Wilson, Brett Bodine, Alan Kowicki, Bobby Hillen Jr., Harry Gant, Mark Martin, Hut Strickland, Derek Cope, Ricky Rudd, Jimmy Spencer, Rusty Wallace, Ernie Irvan, Richard Petty, Bobby Hamilton, Ken Schrader, Stanley Smith, Chad Little, Kyle Petty, and lastly but not least, Dale Jarrett. Okay, so the first thing we do is we determine who the pole sitter is, and we're going to do that by reading the red and white die. We're going to read the red die first. We have a 51, so we're going to look for the driver who has his pole rating, who has 51 in his pole rating. And that is Michael Waltrip. So Michael Waltrip is going to be the pole sitter. And you'll have to excuse me again because there is a lot of bookkeeping in this game, as you can see. Okay, so I have Michael Waltrip down as the pole sitter, and he's going to face a challenge right off the bat. And this challenge is going to determine whether or not he leads the first lap. That is Michael Waltrip, who is our current race leader. So we're going to give him the green die as a marker. And we're going to select a random driver who's going to challenge him for the race lead as Michael Waltrip leads them out. Okay, so we have a 63. 63 is Jimmy Spencer. Jimmy Spencer's going to challenge. Okay, we look at the race rating. Spencer is an 8. Waltrip is an 11. For this one check, this first check of the race, the first challenge, the pole sitter gets a +1, so that makes Waltrip a 12. That means the differential is a -4. And Jimmy Spencer needs an 11 or 12 to be successful. He rolls a 7 and fails. So Jimmy Spencer fails, remains on the lead lap, and Michael Waltrip is your race leader. Okay, so the first phase of this race is a mechanical check. We're going to check to see if any drivers have any mechanical problems, and we're going to select a driver and the 4 adjacent drivers to him, and we're going to look at the red mechanical avoidance rating. So we roll a 32, and the 32 is Mark Martin. And this is how we do the adjacent drivers. We go to his 12 o'clock, and that's Michael Waltrip, and he can be involved in this. He can be involved in this. And let's see, it's Michael Waltrip. Mark Martin's 3 o'clock is Mickey Gibbs. His 6 o'clock is Davey Allison. And his 9 o'clock is Jeff Bodine. Okay, so first we're going to check Mark Martin. All right, his mechanical rating is a 6. There's no modifiers here, so there is a 6. If it's equal to his mechanical rating, he's lapped. If it's greater than his mechanical rating, he's forced to tire. So we're forced to retire. So we'll check Mark Martin out first. He rolls a 9. So he fails and he's out of the race. Fail. DNF. Okay, now the race leader, Michael Waltrip. He's a 7. He rolls a 10. He's out. So we're going to have to determine a new race leader. But Michael Waltrip is out. Fails. DNF. Okay, so the way we determine the race leader is we look at the adjacent drivers to the race leader, who was Michael Waltrip, and whoever is the highest going by priority would become the new race leader. Well, it's Hut Strickland with an 11, Ricky Rudd with an 11, Davey Allison is also 11, and Alan Kowicki. And going by priority, Hut Strickland is the new leader. Okay, so the next check is Mickey Gibbs. Gibbs is a 7, so he needs less than a 7. He rolls a 10, and he's out. Did not finish. Okay, Davey Allison. He's the next one. He's a 9. He rolls snake eyes, so he's good. He passes. Davey Allison passes. And finally, Jeff Bodine right there, right next to his brother. How about that? Okay, he's a 6. He rolls an 11, and he's out. So a lot of mechanical problems here at Richmond today. And we just lost 4 drivers due to mechanical issues. And Hut Strickland is your leader. Okay, so he's going to face the challenge now. All right, so we roll a 22. That's Davey Allison. He's going to challenge Hut Strickland. Okay, we're looking at the green race rating. And Davey Allison is an 11. Hut Strickland is 11. So he's challenging at a difference of 0. He needs a 7 to 12. He rolls an 8. And we have a new race leader in Davey Allison. That's a pass. And Allison is the race leader. Okay, so now we're going to have a period of green flag racing. That's phase 2 here. And what that is, it's going to be a random driver, 4 adjacent, and they're going to all go up against the leader. We're going to look at the green race rating and use the quality pass matrix. Okay, so first we need to select our random driver, and that's a 63. That's Jimmy Spencer. So it's Spencer. His 12 o'clock, we swing all the way down to Ted Musgrave. His 3 o'clock is Sterling Marlin. 6 o'clock is Lake Speed. And his 9 o'clock is Dave Marcus. Okay, Jimmy Spencer is an 8. Davey Allison is an 11. It's a -3. He needs a 10 to 12. He rolls an 8 and fails, so he goes a lap down. So he wasn't challenging for the lead. He was trying to stay on the lead lap, and Davey Allison got past him. Okay, so Jimmy Spencer fails, and he's lapped green. Davey Allison remains the race leader. Okay, next is Ted Musgrave. Musgrave is an 8, Allison an 11. It's a -3, 10 to 12. He rolls a 9. He's almost successful, but not. And he goes a lap down. Gets a green lap marker. Now, these green lap markers are cumulative, so you can get several of those. And you can be part of a challenge with a green lap marker. And if you're successful, you get your lap back. All right, so Musgrave failed. Lapped green, and Davey Allison is still your race leader. Next is Sterling Marlin. Sterling Marlin is an 11. Davey Allison is an 11. He's going at 0. He needs a 7 to 12. He rolls a 4 and fails. So Sterling Marlin goes a lap down. Failed. Lap down. Davey Allison. Okay, Lake Speed. Lake Speed is a 6. Davey Allison is an 11. That's a -5. That's an automatic failure. And he goes a lap down. Fail. Davey Allison remains the race leader. And the last check is Dave Marcus. He is a 6. Davey Allison is an 11. It's a -5, and he's an automatic failure. We got quite a few lap drivers. And after the green flag racing period, Davey Allison remains the leader. Okay, so now we're going to have a series of green flag pit stops. And we're going to do a random driver again. For adjacent, they're going to be going up. They're going to be going against they're going to be going against the race leader using the pit crew rating, which is the blue number here. I'll move that over for Davey Allison. We're going to be going against the blue rating. Okay, so first we got to select our random driver, and that's a 1-5. That's Jimmy Means. No Means. And his 12 o'clock is Bobby Hamilton. His 3 o'clock is Chad Little. For 6 o'clock, we whip all the way around to the top, and it's Stanley Smith. And his 9 o'clock is Rusty Wallace. These guys are all going up against the race leader. These are green flag pit stops. So we could have a lot of lead changes occur here. All right, so Davey Allison is an 8. Jimmy Means is a 6. So that's a -2. He needs, or no, I'm sorry. Yes, we do go up against the matrix. It's a -2. He needs a 9 to 12. He rolls a 4 and fails. So Means fails. Davey Allison remains the leader. And he goes a lap down. Jimmy Means. All right. Next is Bobby Hamilton. Bobby Hamilton's an 8. Davey Allison is an 8. That's a 0. 7 to 12. He rolls a 6 and fails. So he goes a lap down. All right. Bobby Hamilton. Lap down. Fail. Davey Allison still the leader. Okay, Chad Little. Chad Little is a 7. Davey Allison is an 8. It's a -1. Needs an 8 to 12. He rolls an 8, so we have a new race leader. And Chad Little. So Chad Little passes. and he's the new race leader. So now the rest of this challenge is going to be going up against Chad Little, who's our new race leader. Okay, so he's a 7. Stanley Smith is a 4. That's a -3. He needs a 10 to 12. He rolls a 10. Stanley Smith is the new race leader. Some lead changes during these green flag pit stops, and you will see that, of course. So Stanley Smith is now in the lead. He's a 4. And this final challenge is coming from Rusty Wallace. Rusty Wallace is an 8, so that's a -4. Or excuse me, that's a +4. Rusty Wallace is a +4. Okay, so he needs a 3 to 12. And he rolls an 8. So we have a new leader in Rusty Wallace. Rusty Wallace passes. He's the new leader. And now we're going to check for penalties. This is, the officials watching what's going on in the pits and see if there are any infractions on pit row. Okay, so the way we do this, we do a random driver and 4 adjacent. They do not go up against the leader. And we look at the pit crew rating again, and we'll go from there. Okay, so our random driver, we use the red and white for that, is a 31. There is no 31. I know this says 13 and 23 here, but I go by the die color, if anybody's wondering. The red 3 and the white 1. It just works better for me. Okay, so there's nobody there, so we'll roll again. We get a 1-2. 1-2 is Harry Gant. So it's going to be Harry Gant. His 12 o'clock is Davey Allison. His 3 o'clock is Ted Musgrave. Six o'clock, we have to wrap around. It's Dave Marcus. And his 9 o'clock is Bill Elliott. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to look at the pit crew rating. If the die is lower or equal to the pit crew rating, there's no infraction. If it's higher, he's going to get a green lap. Any yellow or red drivers, which there aren't any in this challenge, they would be forced to retire. Okay, so first up we have Harry Gant. He's a 9. So he needs to be a 9 or less. And he rolls a 9. So he's good. He passes. Davey Allison. Davey Allison is an 8. He rolls a 10 and fails, so he's going to go a lap down. He had an infraction. He's told to come in for a stop and go, and that puts him a lap down. So Allison fails, and he's a lap down. Green. Next is Ted Musgrave. Ted Musgrave is an 8. He rolls a 6, and he's good. So no infraction for Ted Musgrave. Dave Marcus, he's a 7. He needs a 7 or less. He rolls a 9, he fails. So he's already a lap down. But like I said, these green lap markers are cumulative. Cumulative. Yes. Okay, so Dave Marcus fails. He's now 2 laps down. And finally, Bill Elliott. He's an 8. He rolls a 6 and passes. So no infraction for Bill Elliott. And after those penalty checks, Rusty Wallace is still your race leader. Okay, so now he's going to face a challenge. And that challenge is going to come from 4-3 Ricky Rudd. So Ricky Rudd is an 11. Forgot to move the marker to Rusty Wallace. Sorry about that. Rusty Wallace is an 11. So that's going at a 0. And Ricky Rudd needs a 7 to 12. He rolls an 8. We have a new race leader in Ricky Rudd. All right. Pass. Rudd. Now Rudd's going to face a challenge because there's 2 challenges back-to-back in between these two phases. All right, so Rudd's going to face the challenge from 31. There's nobody there. 54, King Petty, Richard Petty. Challenging Ricky Rudd. Richard Petty's an 8. Rudd's an 11. That's going to be a -3. He needs a 10 to 12. He rolls a 7, and Richard Petty goes a lap down. Richard Petty's lapped. He fails. Ricky Rudd remains your race leader. Okay, now we're going to check for contact. We're going to roll for a random driver, and that driver's going to, I guess, get rubbed, and we're going to look at the 4 adjacent drivers to him, and we'll see whether or not anybody gets lapped or forced to retire. So the random driver is 2-1, Brett Bodine. Brett Bodine. Okay, his 12 o'clock is Alan Kowicki. His 3 o'clock is Davey Allison. And his 3 o'clock is Davey Allison. His 6 o'clock is Bill Elliott. And his 9 o'clock, we wrap around, it's Larry Pearson. Okay, so we're looking at the yellow contact avoidance rating. And what you need is to be lower than that, okay? So anything lower than the contact rating, you're safe. If you're equal, you're going to get a yellow lap marker, which means you were involved in contact, and now you're, due to some damage, you're several laps down. And if the die roll is greater than your contact rating, you're going to be forced to retire. Okay, so the first driver we're going to look at is Brett Bodine. He's an 8. He rolls a 5, and he's good. So he passes. Next is Alan Kowicki. He's also an 8. He rolls a 5. He's good. Passes. Davey Allison. He's a 10. He rolls a 10. But he fails. And now he is no longer just a lap down. He's many laps down with the yellow marker. Okay? To signify that he's had some contact. So Davey Allison fails. And he gets a yellow. All right, so now Bill Elliott. Bill Elliott is an 11. He rolls a 5. He's good. Pass. And finally, Larry Pearson over here. He's a 4. He rolls a 6. He's forced to retire. He gets in contact, I guess, with Jeff Bodine, and he's forced to retire. Was it Jeff Bodine? Oh, I don't remember. Was it? No, it was Brett Bodine. But Pearson, his damage is bad enough that he's forced to retire. So Pearson fails. And he DNF'd. Sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied. And Ricky Rudd remains your race leader. Okay, now because we did have contact, we got to do a pit crew stops under caution. All right, so the only there's really no difference to this other than, unlike the green flag pit stops where we have several lead changes, we're only going to have one race leader at the end of this series of, caution pit stops. Okay, pit stops under caution. Okay, so the way that works is it's a random driver for adjacent, and they're going to go up against the leader. So the random driver is a 3-1. I keep rolling that 3-1. There's nobody there. How about that? I rolled it again. 4-1. It's Alan Kowicki. Okay, so it's going to be Alan Kowicki. It's 12 o'clock. It's Joe Rootman. His 3 o'clock is the race leader, Ricky Rudd. Actually, it can't be Ricky Rudd because he's already involved in this challenge. It's Dale Earnhardt. Sorry about that. You just jump over Rudd to Earnhardt. Okay. And his 6 o'clock is Brett Bodine. And his 9 o'clock, we whip all the way around here, and it's Darrell Waltrip. Okay, so we're going to look at pit crew ratings and compare that to the leader's pit crew rating and use the quality pass matrix. Okay, so our first driver is Alan Kulwicki. He's an 8. Ricky Rudd's a 9. That's a -1. 8 to 12. He rolls a 5 and fails. So he ends up going a lap down. Fail, lapped, green. Alan Kulwicki. All right. Next is Joe Rootman. He's an 8. Ricky Rudd's a 9, -1, 8 to 12. Fails. Rolls a 5, lap down. All right. Next driver. So Rootman fails, lap down. Next driver is Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt is a 10. Ricky Rudd's a 9. He's going in at a +1. He needs a 6 to 12. He rolls a 4 and fails. So he goes a lap down. Dale Earnhardt. Fail. Lap down. Brett Bodine. Brett Bodine is a 7. And Ricky Rudd is a 9. That's a -2. Needs a 9 to 12. He fails. Rolling a 4. He's a lap down. And the final challenger is Darrell Waltrip. He's an 8. Rudd's a 9. It's a -1. 8 to 12. He rolls a 9. And we have a new race leader in Darrell Waltrip. Right. So Darrell Waltrip is now the race leader. Ricky Rudd stays on the lead lap. Waltrip passes, and you have a new race leader. He's going to face a challenge. This will be the last challenge before we get into the final closing lap phases. Okay, so he's going to face a random challenge. Darrell Waltrip, our new race leader. And that challenge is coming from 5-1. It's Joe Rootman. So he's challenging to try to get back on the lead lap. All right, so Rootman's a 9. Darrell Waltrip's an 11. That's a -2. And -2, he needs a 9 to 12. He rolls a 6, and he fails to get back on the lead lap. So he still remains 1 lap down. Okay, so it was Rootman. Failed. Darrell Waltrip remains your leader. Okay, now we're in the closing lap phases. We're going to do a mechanical check, but that's only against the leader. Okay, so we got to see if we're going to have a mechanical event, and we consult the card on a 9 to 12. There will be a mechanical check. And that's a 7, so there's no mechanical check. So no. So now he's going to face another challenge. So Darrell Waltrip remains the leader because there was no mechanical check. And he faces another challenge. And that challenge is coming from 36. Kyle Petty. Kyle Petty. Challenge from Kyle Petty. Kyle Petty is an 11. Darrell Waltrip's an 11. So it's even at 0, 7 to 12. Kyle Petty is the new leader. Anything less, he's down a lap. He rolls a 12, so we have a new race leader, Kyle Petty. Pass. Kyle Petty is the new race leader. Okay, now we're going to check to see if there is contact here in the closing phases. And in a 7 to 12, there is contact. We roll an 11, so that's a yes. contact. And that's going to be the race leader, the cars adjacent to him, and one random driver. So that's Kyle Petty. His 12 o'clock is Darrell Waltrip. His 3 o'clock is Ernie Irvin. Comes all the way over to Ernie Irvin. That's his 3 o'clock. His 6 o'clock is Chad Little. Chad Little, and his 9 o'clock is Morgan Shepherd. Now we need to select one random driver to be part of this challenge, or this contact. And that's a 1-1, it's Bill Elliott. Okay, Bill Elliott. All right, so what we're going to do is it's leader, one random. It's the 4 adjacent to the leader and one random. And we're going to, the dice lower, safe if it's equal, and that's to the mechanical rating. If this dice lower to the mechanical rating, he's safe. If it's equal, he's going to go down a lap green. If it's higher, he's going to go down a lap's yellow. Okay, so the first person we're checking is the leader, Kyle Petty. He is a 6 in his contact rating. He rolls a 5, so he's safe. Kyle Petty passes. Darrell Waltrip. He's an 8. He rolls a 10, so he's going to go down yellow. Failed. Yellow. So he's down several laps due to contact. Had to go in for some repairs, and he's down many laps. Okay. So Darrell Waltrip failed. Ernie Irvin. Ernie Irvin is a 6. He rolls a 6. So, oh, I'm sorry. Darrell Waltrip's forced to retire. But Ernie Irvin rolled a 6, matching his number. I'm sorry about that. Darrell Waltrip was forced to retire. Okay, but Ernie Irvin is not. He rolled his contact rating. So, Waltrip, DNF, Irvin failed, and he's yellow. Kyle Petty's still the leader. Okay, Chad Little's the next one we're going to check. He's an 8. He rolls a 4 and is safe. Chad Little is good. He passes. Morgan Shepherd. Where's Morgan Shepherd? Right here. He's a 10. Oh, and contacts are a +1 here. Wouldn't have affected him, but Ernie Irvin, it does affect him. He's good. And I apologize for that. Ernie Irvin passes because of the contact rating. And if I missed another one, I apologize, but we're just going to call that an act of stupidity. Okay? All right, so Ernie Irvin passes, and he remains on the lead lap. Who are we checking next? Chad Little, he passed. Now it's Morgan Shepherd. Morgan Shepherd's a 10, but the +1 on the contact makes him an 11. And he's good. So Morgan Shepherd is good. And hopefully I didn't miss the earlier contact phase. If I did, like I said, it's just an act of stupidity. Okay, Morgan Shepherd's good. And last check is Bill Elliott. Bill Elliott is an 11. It makes him a 12. He's good unless he rolls boxcars. And he rolls a 9. So Bill Elliott's good. So he passes. And Kyle Petty remains the race leader. All right. Now, pit crew stops under caution. All right. Because we did have contact, we got to do pit crew stops under caution. So we do a random driver, 4 adjacent, they go up against the leader. Okay, so we have a 6, 5, it's Stanley Smith. So it's Stanley Smith. All right, and his 12 o'clock is Jimmy Means, who's already a lap down. And His 3 o'clock is Rick Wilson. His 6 o'clock is Terry Labonte, right there. And his 9 o'clock is Sterling Marlin. All right, so what we're doing here is we're going to look at the pit crew rating, which is the blue numbers, the last of the 4 numbers. And you're going to go up against the leader, who is Kyle Petty. And we're going to use the matrix. We're going to use the quality pass matrix. Okay, Stanley Smith is the first challenge. He's a 4. Kyle Petty's an 11, or excuse me, a 10. That's a -6 and an automatic fail and an automatic lap. So Stanley Smith is lapped without even a die roll. So he fails, lapped, green. Okay, Jimmy Means. He is a 6. It's a -4. Kyle Petty's 10. He needs an 11 or 12. He rolls snake eyes. So he fails. He's going to go down another lap. So he'll be down 2. If I can find a green marker here. I probably should have separated these. Okay. Jimmy Means is down 2 laps. Next is Rick Wilson. Rick Wilson is a 7. Kyle Petty's a 10. It's a -3. 10 to 12. He rolls a 7. He goes down a lap. Quite a few lap drivers in this race. Failed, lapped. Terry Labonte. He's a 7. It's a -3 against Kyle Petty's 10. 10 to 12. He rolls an 8. He's lapped. Labonte, lapped. Fail, lapped. And finally, Sterling Marlin, who's already a lap down. He's an 8. It's a -2, 9 to 12. He's going to go down another lap because he failed. Sterling Marlin's down 2. All right. Fail, lapped. Kyle Petty remains the leader. Now he's going to face a challenge. Going to face a challenge. And where's that challenge coming from? It's coming from 6-5, Stanley Smith, who's just going to try to get back on the lead lap. Okay. But unfortunately, Stanley Smith is a 2, and Kyle Petty's an 11. That's an automatic failure with a -9, so he does not get back on the lead lap. He tries. So that's Smith. He's, challenging to get back on the lead lap, but it doesn't happen. Kyle Petty remains the race leader. Okay, so now we got to check to see if there's going to be a pit crew event. And that's an 8 to 12 on the event table. That's a 7, so there's no pit crew event. So that's all void. Kyle Petty still remains your leader. All right. And we have one more phase to check before the final challenge, and that's green flag racing here in the closing laps. But that is conditional. We need a 6 to 12, so there's a 50-50 chance, or a little bit better than that. We roll a 10, so there's going to be some green flag racing. That's a yes. And that's going to be the leader and the adjacent cars to the leader and one random driver. So it's Kyle Petty. His 12 o'clock is Dale Jarrett. His 3 o'clock is Ernie Irvin, because we swing all the way around. Irvin. His 6 o'clock is Chad Little. Wait a minute. No, I was wrong there. It's Kyle Petty. 12, Dale Jarrett. 3 is Ernie Irvin. 6 is Chad Little. And I'm sorry, Kyle Petty does not take part of this. It's Jared. It's all the adjacent cards. It's Jared, Irvin, Chad Little, Morgan Shepherd, and one random driver. I apologize for that. They're going up against the race leader, Kyle Petty. Okay, so we need to pick a random driver who has the opportunity to get lucky here at the end. We got a 1-3. It's Ted Musgrave, so he might be able to get his lap back. All right, so it's Musgrave. All right. So we're looking at green race ratings. That's what we're looking at here. Okay, his first challenge is Dale Jarrett. Oh, I'm sorry. They can't be lapped. So it can't be Ted Musgrave. It has to be the highest adjacent to him. And that looks like it's going to be Rusty Wallace. And I apologize again. Yeah, and this final phase is can't be a lap driver. Because these are challenges, you know, for the lead near the end. Okay, so anyway, the first one is Dale Jarrett. Now, in this case, if the fail is not going to put you a lap down. These guys are all trying for the lead here at the end. You know, some green flag racing here at the end. All right, so Kyle Petty, that would not be true if it's a greater than a -5, okay? All right, so Kyle Petty's an 11, Dale Jarrett's a 10, that's a -1, needs an 8 to 12. He rolls an 8, and we have a new race leader in Dale Jarrett. Jarrett passes. He's the new race leader. So now, Ernie Irvin is going to be going up against Dale Jarrett. Irvin's an 11, Jarrett's a 10. He's doing this at a +1. He needs a 6 to 12. He rolls a 4 and fails. All right, so Ernie Irvin fails. So it's still Dale Jarrett. Now it's Chad Little. He's an 8. Dale Jarrett's a 10. It's a -2. He needs a 9 to 12. He rolls a 5. He fails. And lastly, it's Morgan Shepherd. He's an 11. Jared's a 10. He's going at a +1. He needs a 6 to 12. He rolls a 10. And the lead changes again. And it's Morgan Shepherd. Morgan Shepherd, who finished last in the Daytona 500. So it's pass, and it's Shepherd. Okay, so now we have the final challenge. And the way the final challenge works, it's the leader, the 4 adjacent drivers, not including any lap drivers, okay? And what we do is we take the highest rated of the adjacent drivers next, you know, using the order of priority to the leader, and that's who gives him the final challenge. Okay, so we got Ken Schrader with an 11, Kyle Petty with an 11, Bobby Hamilton's lapped. It would come all the way back around to Ken Schrader again. So we'd have to go over to Dale Jarrett. Or no, wait a minute. We'd go to Ricky Rudd, who's an 11. But it doesn't really matter. They're all 11s. Ken Schrader, being at 12 o'clock, has the highest priority. So it's going to be Ken Schrader giving Morgan Shepherd a final challenge. All right, and they're both 11s. So they're coming down the stretch here. Checkered flag is out. They're both 11s. This is at a 0. And your race winner is Ken Schrader, rolling a 10. Okay, so Ken Schrader passes, and he is your race winner, the winner of the Pontiac Excitement 400 at Richmond. Ken Schrader. All right, so now we go through the determination of the finishing order. Okay, well, of course, Ken Schrader wins the race. If I could pick up his card. So we're going to put the marker here so we don't lose track. Okay, so he's your race winner. Morgan Shepherd finishes second because he lost that challenge. Okay, so then the next thing we do is all of the drivers who were who could potentially have been part of that last challenge, but were not selected. They're next in priority order. Okay, so it was Morgan Shepherd who was the race leader going into this. So the next one would be Kyle Petty. And with all these guys lapped here, we'd have to go to the highest for Bobby Hamilton, the highest adjacent to Bobby Hamilton. And that looks like it's Rick Mast. Rick Mast, then Ernie Irvan. Okay, so now we're on this groove. So now we're going to go stay on this groove, and we're going to go clockwise, the highest rated drivers on this groove that aren't lapped. Okay, so we got a 7. He's lapped. Hutch Strickland has an 11. He's lapped. Okay, so then we go around again. They're all lapped except for Derek Cope. Okay, so now we're going to go up into the upper groove, or the top groove, I guess you'd say. Well, Dale Earnhardt's lapped. Ricky Rudd isn't, so he comes off next. Okay, now we're going to go out to the outer groove, coming down from the race leader, going clockwise. Okay, so that's Rusty Wallace with an 11, Harry Gant, Bill Elliott, lapped. Any other 11s that aren't lapped? No. So now we're going to come down to a 10. That would be Bobby Hillin Jr., Dale Jarrett. Okay, so that's a 10. Now we're going to check for 9s that are on the lead lap. There are no 9s, but Chad Little's an 8. And everyone else is lapped. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Ken Schrader's groove, or yeah, I guess that's what you call it, a groove, and we're going to do single lap drivers going clockwise by priority. Okay, so we got a 10. It's going to be Bobby Hamilton. Terry Labonte. Richard Petty's an 8. Lake Speed's a 6. Okay, so now we go back up to the top groove, and it's Dale Earnhardt. Okay, he's a lap down. All right, so we've gone through all three. No, I'm sorry, we have to go to the outside groove now. Okay, he's an 8, 9, 11. It's going to be Alan Kulwicki. Sterling Marlin's 2 laps down. Okay, so let's see, do we have any 10s? No, but we do have a 9 with Brett Bodine. So he comes off next. Then Joe Rootman. Any other 9s? No. 8s, Ted Musgrave. Jimmy Spencer. Rick Wilson. That's it for the 8s. 7s. No 7s. No 6s. Looks like it comes all the way down to Stanley Smith. Now we're going to double lapped cards. That would be Sterling Marlin. Dave Marcus with a 6. Jimmy Means with a 2. And then Davey Allison, who was down many laps due to contact. And then the remaining drivers who were forced to retire in order of retirement complete the field. Okay, so just quickly we'll give you your top 10 for the Pontiac Excitement 400 here at Richmond. The race winner was Ken Schrader. Morgan Shepherd is 2nd, Kyle Petty 3rd, Rick Mast 4th, Ernie Irvan 5th, Hutch Strickland 6th, Derek Cope 7, Ricky Rudd 8, Rusty Wallace 9, and Harry Gant 10. So I'll update the standings before race number 3, which I believe is Rockingham. Yes, it is. Okay, well, that's going to do it for this episode. I know it was a long one. Hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. I might have. These rules are a bit wonky. I did make up a cheat sheet, but I don't know. I still might be making a few mistakes. But all the same, I had a lot of fun playing this game. Ken Schrader's your race winner. And that's going to do it for this episode. So until next time, take care.